Hello everyone, my name is Adam Simpson and you're watching my YouTube channel, Adam M.A. Simpson. Happy New Year! It's 2022. You haven't seen me in a long time. I'm sorry, it's my final year of my PhD. I'm applying for jobs as well, so things are very hectic. So I have to take a step back and I can't produce as often as I'd like. But I have a special episode for you today. Also, you notice I have a new look with my bald head. Let me know if you like it. But today's episode is special because it's with Dr. Carlotta A of the Rose-Hulman Institute. She's a professor of computer and electrical engineering and robotics. And I love this episode because she's all about breaking the stereotypes of who is an engineer, and also she started the nonprofit orgs Black in Engineering, as well as being a founder of Black in Robotics. So please enjoy this episode. Dr. Berry is amazing. She's enthusiastic, she's jovial, and this episode was so fun. The interview was so fun to conduct as well. So, please enjoy and stay tuned. Part 2 will come a little bit after I upload part 1. So just, keep a lookout for part 2 as well. See you and stay tuned. Hello, Dr. Berry. Thank you so much for being on the channel. How are you? Can you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
I am great. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. I am Dr. Carlotta A, and I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, which is in a little town called Terre Haute, Indiana. And I'm also the Lawrence J. Giacoletto Endowed Chair of Electrical and Computer Engineering. So happy to be here.
Yes, and I just had to turn on my light, so candid. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us how you became interested in engineering and give us your account of your educational background and trajectory through the professoriate?
My journey to engineering was a little bit unique in that I did not really want to be an engineer. I originally just wanted to be a teacher. I always loved math and science, and I always loved teaching ever since I was a little girl. And then when I got to about 6th grade, my principal told my mom that she felt my potential was being wasted at my current public school and that we should consider putting me in magnet school.
Wow.
So once I moved to magnet school, that is how my interest in engineering kind of grew, because I had counselors who had a little bit more targeted advice for me based upon my skills. And I also had I was in a program called Inroads. And in that program, I had a career counselor explain to me that my passion for math and science could be used to be an engineer. And I wanted to be a high school math teacher. So this is me dating myself. There was no real internet, no Google machine. So I had to walk to the library and look up an engineer, see that it wasn't a train conductor. And then I was like, looks interesting, maybe kind of cool, but I still wanted to hedge my bets. So I got 2 bachelor's degrees, one from Spelman College and one from Georgia Tech. I did a 5-year dual degree program so that I could have my math degree and my engineering degree in order to satisfy both my loves, and also to give me a fallback so that in case I did not like the engineering, I still had the math degree and I could continue on to become a math teacher. So the good news is, in my journey through life, I have taught high school and college math as well as engineering. So me being an engineering educator, I am able to satisfy both my loves. After graduating from Georgia Tech, I went on to work at Ford Motor Company as a controls and automation engineer in a town right outside Detroit, Michigan called Dearborn, Michigan, the River Rouge, which is where the headquarters for Ford is.
Yeah, I've been there.
So I worked there for about 2 or 3 years, and liked being an engineer, but always kind of felt like there was something else. I would find myself a lot of times talking to the college students, the high school interns, mentoring them, because I just knew I was meant to be an educator. And because of that, I went back to school to get my master's degree. And so I worked nights at Ford and I went to school during the day. And I did that for about a year before I discovered this is completely not sustainable because I was falling asleep in class. I was gaining a lot of weight from eating in the middle of the night to stay awake. So I took a leave from Ford and I got my master's degree at Wayne State University. I had every intention of continuing on to my PhD, but of course, you tell God your plans and they laugh. I got offered a job while I was finishing my master's degree. And so I went to go work at Detroit Edison. Detroit Edison is the power utility company in that area. And I worked in a coal power plant as a controls engineer. So I still had not kind of merged on my love of robotics. I was kind of peripheral to it because there's a lot of connections between controls and automation.
Yeah.
So at Detroit Edison and at Ford, I worked with the industrial robots. I worked with the programmable logic controllers. I did all of those things. And even my master's degree was on controls. It wasn't on robotics.
So,
but
yeah,
go ahead.
So controls, like there are many different sides of controls. You have people doing controls in like chemical engineering, and then you have in, I guess, mechanical and electrical. So you are electrical focused.
I am.
And I guess for the science-minded viewer, what particular angle does an electrical robotics person consider?
Okay, so here's the most generic definition of controls, and it will fit all of those boxes you just had.
Yeah.
So it'll be chemical, mechanical. Controls is basically the study of systems and things to improve the process or how they work. So that works for chemicals, that works with, you're talking about a mechanical system, or in my case, for an electrical system. So if you think about a robot, if I'm designing a control algorithm for my robot, that could be, how do I design the robot to avoid obstacles or not hit people? How do I design the robot to follow a wall? How do I control the robot to build a map of the world? How do I control the robot to find itself when it's lost in the world? So all of that is control. So when you say controls, it fits all of those.
Yes.
Drill it down into a discipline. And actually, I teach multidisciplinary robotics, which is a prerequisite of controls. So my students who take the course are mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, biomedical engineering, computer science, software engineering.
Wow.
So some of them take controls, but not electrical controls, but they're all able to come together because those skill sets still work on a robot. So that's kind of when I decided I wanted to get my PhD in robotics because I saw the potential for what robotics could be, kind of segueing from what we were just talking about, in multidisciplinary education, right? So I can give you the robot and I can show you how a mechanical engineer could do something on the robot, a software engineer could do something, an electrical engineer, etc., biomedical engineering, looking at human-robot interaction, a social psychologist, sociology. So that's the coolness of robotics, is because it can draw in all of these diverse people from all of these different disciplines, and they can come together to make the system work.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
A lovely explanation, and you brought it back to so can I, going back to your, trajectory through the professoriate, so you're currently, as you said, an electrical engineering professor at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, one of the nation's leading teaching-focused colleges. What led you to this path? As you did get your PhD, I'm sure you had had the ideas of going to R1 or teaching focus. What made you say teaching focus is where I want to make my impact?
So interestingly enough, and this may be because I worked as an engineer for so many years before getting my PhD, I was very targeted about what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do because I had worked for years. So when I applied to schools, I put in my statement of purpose, I am getting my PhD to be an educator. I'm not getting it to be a researcher. I'm not getting it to run research labs. I'm not getting it to crank out a bunch of PhDs, write a bunch of grants. I'm getting it to be an educator. So by putting that in my statement of purpose, I went to Vanderbilt and I got my PhD at Vanderbilt. My advisors knew from day one, I'm doing research as a means to an end. And I know as an academic, I must do research. At my school, we call it professional development. However, this is with a mission of getting more undergraduates into research, getting them excited about engineering. I was never going to be at an R1. And that was before I ever got admitted to my PhD program.
Wow.
And they knew that. So they selected me with that full knowledge. So when I graduated, my choices were only historically Black colleges and universities, because they have a mission of teaching and supporting students, and teaching schools. So I only looked at HBCUs and schools like Harvey Mudd, Rose-Hulman, Cooper Union, schools like that. That's the only kind of schools I looked at. And I actually initially did not come to Rose-Hulman. I initially worked at a historically Black university, Tennessee State University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Nashville and my mom is a alumni. So I was there for several years, and then I saw that there were some things I needed to do that I could not accomplish there, so I moved. I do think it is so important to give back to your community, and thinking about your experience in Jamaica, me teaching at Tennessee State was probably very close to what it was like for you to be at your schools back in Jamaica. But I think it's equally as important for majority populations to see people in these fields as well, and know that we're not unicorns. We do exist. We are qualified to be there, and that we are not just here because somebody's trying to fill a quota, right? So I think the work I do here is equally as important and as impactful as it was at that historically Black university that I left.
And you have a very impressive platform as founder and co-director of the Rose Building Undergraduate Diversity Rosebud Program.
Yes.
And advisor for the National Society of Black Engineers, that's NSBE. Yes. And in your biography, you state you have a special passion for diversifying the engineering profession by encouraging more women, marginalized and minoritized populations to pursue STEM degrees. What galvanized you to pursue this goal? I know you already answered this for me, but
Absolutely. No, I talk about this all day, and I can continue to do so. So I had a pretty rough experience in engineering school as an undergraduate student. And that actually purposed in me that, as exciting as engineering can be, for me on the outside looking in, the way it is being taught, the way students are being mentored and supported, it was very not good. No bueno, as I like to say. So I purposed that, despite the fact that I was struggling, my grades weren't the best, it sometimes looked like I might not even graduate, that if I ever had an opportunity to come back in this space, to be an engineering educator, I was going to show it in a different way. And this is now what I live to do. This is like my life mission, to do that. And it makes me sad that it's now been 25 years since I graduated undergrad, but yet I still hear grad students and undergraduate students talking about, I'm the only woman in class, or I'm one of only a few women or Black people or brown people in class. And I'm still getting inappropriate comments, like males sitting in class next to me saying that women aren't good at math, women shouldn't be in engineering, or they still have their professors making inappropriate jokes, misogynistic or racist jokes. So academia changes slowly, but I knew I had to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
Yes.
So I had to get on the other side and start dragging some of these students across the finish line so that we can get a critical mass, getting them through this obstacle obstacle course, so that we could see the improvement. And that's why I do what I do. I think the side for me, like I said, is researcher, right? Educator. But that means nothing if I'm not bringing all of my intersectional nature and my multidisciplinary nature into the fore. So when I walk in that room, I'm not just an engineering professor, but I'm a Black woman engineering professor. And part of that has to come out when I'm teaching. I have to talk about bias, ethics, diversity. Otherwise, why am I there? If I'm doing it like everyone else, I'm not doing my job.
That's so great. Bias, ethics, and diversity.
Yeah.
These are all topics that most engineers do not want to talk about. But it's
should.
important, but they need to.
They should.
But
hey,
they
guess
should.
what? IEEE Code of Ethics, Association of Computing Machinery Code of Ethics. Most STEM Code of Ethics are going to have something about honesty, diversity, ethics, lack of bias, because you're designing systems for people. That's what engineers do. They design things to improve the world, to make the world a better place, improve processes, and improve things. Engineers get so stuck and have this tunnel vision for the cool technology and creating things that they forget they're creating this for a person, for people, for society. And this is the lecture I actually gave my freshman design students today. When you forget that your things have to be used by a global and a diverse society, that's where we get things like coded bias, the documentary where the facial recognition system did not recognize Black and brown faces.
Yeah.
Or when you get algorithms on social media like Twitter, where if you upload a highly pixelated image, it always converted it to a white face, right? This is what happens when engineers forget your technology has to be used by people and not just people that look like you, right? That's important.
Group think.
Yes.
Group think.
That's good.
All right. So can you tell us about your nonprofit, Black in Engineering and Black in Robotics?
Absolutely. And the first thing I always must do is shout out my community, because I did not create these on my own in a vacuum. So Black in Engineering was co-founded with Dr. Tahira Reed at Purdue University and Dr. Monica Cox at Ohio State University. It was founded during summer 2020, like a lot of things, the summer of social justice and the killing of George Floyd, as well as the racial profiling of Christian Cooper by Amy Cooper in New York Central Park. And that birthed Black Birders Week. And then also the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, which is actually going on. The trial is going on right now.
Yes, the trial is on now.
Yeah. All of those things together brought together a bunch of engineering academics who actually had a listserv called the Academic Research and Leadership Network. And on that listserv, we started a conversation about, we feel like we should do something and the time is now. The challenge with that is a lot of academics, not just Black, are very hesitant to become vocal about what they experience, as well as getting on social media platforms, because we are still kind of a slave, if you want to think about it like that, to tenure, to promotion, to retention. So if you get too out of pocket, that, you never know who could read it, who may be on your PTR committee, and it may come back on you, who's in your department, etc. So we created Black in Engineering as a way to form community where we could speak with one voice. So there is no targeting that one person said this, one person said that. So we created a platform and a call to action that represented Black in Engineering, the community. And it was a call to create anti-racist institutions. And so we came together with several recommendations for doing that. We created videos where we amplify our experiences. Rise Up was our first one. It came out July 4th, 2020. Since then, we have released several more videos. We wear 2 masks, talking about code switching, as well as having to wear different masks when you're at work and when you're in your community. And all of that is just so we as a community could speak and keep untenured and junior faculty safe.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about Black in Robotics too, because I can't leave.
Oh, of course you have to.
So then about a month after that, and this was all birthed out of the Black and X movement. So now if you go on social media, in particular Twitter and Instagram, Black and X movement is a bunch of Black academics from all different walks of life: science, arts, humanities, entertainment. We have Black in swimming, Black in cancer, Black in microbiology, you name it. So Black in Robotics was actually kind of late to the game. And I already had Black in Engineering, so I was good. But I had some colleagues who reached out to me and asked to help co-found Black in Robotics. So I want to acknowledge Dr. Monroe Kennedy at Stanford University.
Yes.
I know Dr. Kennedy. And Dr. Ayanna Howard, who is the new Dean of the College of Engineering at Ohio State University. So along with them and several people from industry and government, we started Black in Robotics. Black in Robotics focuses a little bit different in that it's more about addressing bias in artificial intelligence, addressing bias in robotics, and making commitments to be in the room to make sure that our technologies are not being used to harm our people. For example, people using dogs to police New York's high rises, which happened earlier this year.
Oh, yes.
Right? Or, people using facial recognition to arrest people by matching things to their driver's license picture and then finding out they arrested the wrong person. That happened recently in Detroit, and I think that man is now suing the police department. So Black in Robotics is about being in the room so that we can address systemic bias and racial inequity in technologies that affect us as a people, in particular, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and robotics, right? And we also have an outreach component to amplify the work that we do and normalize it in order to bring more. And I actually am in charge of undergraduate leads and outreach. So that's what I do for Black in Robotics.
Wow. That's very important work.
Yeah.
Yo, you should be featured on Code Switch, NPR's Code Switch. I'm just gonna put that out there because they love to talk about these topics, and the work that Black in Robotics is doing is very important.
Let me get my pen so I can reach out to them after this.
Oh yes.
Planted the seed.
Oh yes, please. And yeah, this would be an amazing episode on Code Switch. Thank you for watching part 1 of this interview with Dr. Carlotta Berry. Please stay tuned for part 2 coming up shortly.